Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Truth Exchange podcast, where we exchange the lies of this age for God's truth. We are your host. My name is Harper Whitman. I'm joined by Dr. Kenneth Bruce. Kenneth, what is going on?
Harper, I got a really important question for you.
All right.
I want you to imagine with me just for a moment, the Apostle Paul has a smartphone.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. What is the first app that he downloads?
I would say the Bible app.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't sound very.
No, that's a safe one. That's safe. Yeah.
All right, what were you thinking?
Here's what I was thinking. You're going to have to trace with me on this one. I think he would download the Power Thesaurus app. I think.
What are the words coming out of your mouth?
All right. So a thesaurus, Harper, is a book.
I know that part.
So I think he would have a thesaurus to give him a robust vocabulary of words to choose from so that he can write his letters.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you a second option.
Okay.
I think he's going to download Google Maps.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Don't you think back in his day he could have used Google Maps?
Oh, man. Yeah, he could have made these shortcuts and got places further and faster.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I never thought about that.
And all his buddies would be going, why'd you go that way? Do you remember the days when you had to drive around with a map? Do you remember that?
The physical, honestly, I'm a little bit of a nerd on this one. I love maps.
Okay.
I remember for Christmas, my parents would sometimes get me an atlas, and I loved it. I just love.
Really?
I'll oftentimes get a map of Alabama, and I'll just follow around, follow roads. I just enjoy looking at maps. So just thinking about the Apostle Paul and his navigation of how he was continually thinking strategically about where he could go, and oh man, that would be really good.
Okay, so you love maps, but have you ever had to use one to go somewhere?
Yeah.
So
back in the day,
I told you we used to live in D.C. So
that's right.
Back then, you bought a map book,
right?
And it was all the states, next to each other. And man, it's so much better not to have to use one of those to get. I mean, I got lost. Have you ever heard of Anacostia?
Yeah, and it's right there in the D.C. It's in like a little suburb. Yeah,
really bad.
Yeah,
we ended up in Anacostia.
Okay,
me and Kelly.
Yeah,
and I couldn't figure out how to get out.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it was bad.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah, I think at the time it was one of the highest murder rates in the country.
Wow.
It was really high.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there going, this dadgum map.
How do we get here? So, I was actually in D.C. This past summer, back in June, and had a chance to go into Georgetown.
Yeah.
That area.
Yeah.
And after walking around for a few minutes, I thought, I don't fit in here.
No, man.
That's a unique subculture.
Yeah.
A lot of money, a lot of people who think very highly of themselves.
Oh, no, it's an interesting place.
Yeah.
I guess, that's the biggest city I've ever lived in, but I guess that's pretty normal. You have so many little pockets of different types of people that live in them, and they just kind of congregate. So
where they kind of go. That's for sure. But so maps, thesaurus, I don't think he would need an ESPN app. I'm not sure if he would follow that.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know. But that was just one thing I was thinking of. I say that because one of my most often used apps on my phone, besides my Bible app, is the Power Thesaurus.
Okay.
I use it all the time.
Do you really?
Yeah. So when I'm doing sermon prep, I'm regularly looking for fresh words to describe ancient truth.
Okay. So that's why you use big words.
It's not original to me.
Have you never noticed me sitting in the congregation going,
I see your hand, that? Harper. I think you're wanting to get saved every Sunday. I see you sitting right there in the aisle.
I notice you ignore me.
Yeah, I do ignore you.
Are you going, would you put a hat on? You're blinding me with a little.
I'm like, he already knows the answers. Let me find someone else who's not paying attention. Oh, it is funny, man, when you're preaching and kind of looking out at the audience and there's all kinds of different faces that you're getting.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
It just the different responses. But you're always there on the aisle. I see you right there.
There you go. So I bet during the Book of Daniel series, there were a lot of confused looks.
There was a lot of quizzical scowls.
What is he talking about?
Arms crossed, chin to right shoulder.
Yeah.
Like what? What?
So, I will say this. Those people are listening.
They're absolutely.
That is so good.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good time.
All right, we're about to jump into the deep end of the pool today.
Let's do it. Let's just do something, something nice and easy.
How do we know God is there?
Let's go.
If you have ever shared the gospel with somebody, this is what you have to explain. You have to explain how we know God is there. And you remember when we did that episode on, I should have looked this up before I started the process, but the evil.
That one episode.
The one on evil, the
problem of evil.
Problem of evil. I get that all the time when I present the gospel is if God is there, how do I know he's there? And if he's there, why did he allow bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
So I think this is a really, really good topic for all of us when we go to present the gospel. You need to be prepared with, how do you know God's there?
How do you know he's there? And thankfully, the Lord has given us so many different resources and ways in which we get to show, to prove his existence. In fact, I would argue that the burden is back on the other person.
I would too.
And say, listen, can you prove to me that there's not a God? And even the problem of evil, which is the most often, trump card that they might think they might play, they're actually arguing for the truthfulness of the Bible. What they're saying is the world is broken. It's not supposed to be this way, in which we say, you're right. Yeah. It's not. But the good news is God has made a way to fix it through his son.
Amen.
And so even the problem of evil is not a trump card, but we do have opportunities in which we get to talk to people, whether they are atheist, a meaning no, theist meaning God, they believe in no God, or they're agnostic, meaning they don't know. Like they're in between, like there might be, there might not be. I'm just not sure on that. You're going to have those conversations with people who fall into those two camps. And so when you're in those conversations, what do we do? What do we say? Well, Harper and I, we're going to give you some different ways you can help navigate those conversations.
Can I, early in the morning, I'm going to make some people mad.
Bring it.
I don't think there's such thing as atheists. I think atheists are people who are so lazy they hadn't looked into it. Because I don't think you look into it and you don't have a sense. Now, an agnostic, they may be working it out. But I don't believe everybody believes in the same God that I do. But if you look into it, if you study, and this is important, man, this is important. So study it. But if you study it, it's hard for me to come away and believe somebody will come away and say, okay, there's just no God. It just happened.
Yeah.
I think that's people that have a preconceived notion. That's what they wanted it to be before they looked into it. And so it was kind of an easy way to come to that point of view.
That could be true for some. And I think for some, they're just, they don't want to have to think through that. I would push it a little farther than that, Harper, and say at times people will trend towards either atheism or agnosticism is because they're living in sin and they don't want to feel guilty about it.
Amen.
There's a sense where I remember having a conversation with someone who was in our college ministry at one point, and this person was walking away from the Lord and was making these arguments against Christianity and the truthfulness of the Bible. And I asked, so how's your relationship with your girlfriend going? And all of a sudden I began to realize, we're now dabbling in sexual immorality.
Yeah. And
so a common understanding is that when you start talking with someone who's thinking about walking away from the faith, usually it's, so how long have you been sleeping with your girlfriend?
Right. Yeah.
Because that's usually what's going on is there's some sexual immorality in their life and they feel guilty. They don't want to think about the truthfulness or being held accountable for their actions. That's not always the case. That's not a fair thing. But honestly, that is most common, is that people feel guilty for their disobedience, for the decisions that they're making. And so they just want to suppress and not think about the truthfulness and the reality of the gospel.
I am so guilty of doing things like that. But is that not the most short-sighted thing you've ever heard of? We want to walk away from God because we want to dabble in our own sin. Wages of sin is death. It makes no sense. And we're all guilty of it, at least probably in some level.
I would also add it points to the truthfulness of the Bible. Even in Genesis 3, where Adam and Eve are like, we're going to go our own way. God, we don't want to think about you. And so they go into hiding. And yet God still loves. He still pursues. Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
That's not a question of geographically, Adam, where are you located? I see you behind those bushes over there. But relationally, where are you? God is lovingly calling them out of hiding, calling them out of shame. And the grace of God in that moment is he's calling them to himself. And so what we see is God himself, he clothes them in animal skin, meaning there had to be a bloody sacrifice to temporarily atone for their sin. God does the sacrificing. He then clothes and covers their shame, and through the death of a substitute. Boy, what does that sound like? God ultimately will one day send forth his son, whom he will crush on a cross. He will provide a bloody substitute. He will clothe us in his righteousness. He will cover our shame.
Amen.
So if you're listening today and you're someone who has been trending away from the Lord, questioning his word, not sure if he exists, or if you find yourself falling back into some sin, would you return back to him? He is not a God who is going to stiff arm you when you come to him. He will open up his arms. He's going to show you his blood-stained cross and where you can find redemption and wholeness. But today we're going to be unpacking this idea of the reality and the proof of God's existence.
Yes, we are. Why don't we start with Romans 1:20?
Let's do it.
Does that sound like a good place?
Yeah, that's a fantastic place.
All right. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. Let that resonate for a minute.
There's a really important word in what you just read there is the word see, like what we have seen. Okay, so how do I know that there is a God? Number one, open your eyes. Okay, we can see his creation. Romans 1, creation is revealing that there is a creator. Now, man suppresses that. Paul goes on to say man suppresses the truth and knowledge, but creation points to a creator. Okay, so if I'm in a conversation with someone who doesn't believe in a God, I'll do these four things: creation, art, order, design. Okay, creation, art, order, design. Creation. Okay, if you go to Fashion Week in Paris, you see dresses and certain kinds of clothing. Well, there was a creator who made those dresses. Yeah. Art. If you see a painting, it points to a painter. If you look at a sculpture, it points to a sculptor. Okay, so creation, art, order. You see 10 Sprite cups lined up in an order. There was an orderer behind it.
Right.
But then you've got design. You look at a building. Right now, you and I are in a building that thankfully I did not design, or else this thing would come crashing down. But thankfully, there were those who were trained who create buildings. When you see a building, that means that there is a builder. You see a building, there was an architect. There was someone who had the design behind it in which they designed it. So creation, art, order, design. When you see these four things, they are pointing to someone who was behind it. When we see all of the planets in our constellation that are in perfect alignment, you see order. You see creation. You see art in the beauty of a sunrise or in a sunset or in the beauty of nature all around you. You see order when you see the Egyptian pyramids designed out in a specific way. Creation around you is pointing to a creator.
Have you ever heard the saying, if there was a big bang, there was a big banker?
I've not heard that.
Big banger.
There it is.
So the theory behind that word is, if there was a big bang, somebody had to design it. There was order behind it. It wasn't random.
But just think about the beauty and the balance of all that we see in creation, from the Alps to the African savanna to Belizean citrus fields. Man, right now the Earth is on a 23.5 degree axis. If at any point that shifted just slightly, we would all die immediately. It's amazing how creation is held by a creator who is holding it together. I'm amazed even by this. Is Harper, a few weeks ago, I burned my hand on a fire pit.
Oh, boy.
And it's already starting to heal right here. You can kind of see where it's already getting better. You see, it's amazing how God designed the human body to work in such a way to provide healing. My body alerted me to the pain, so I would go away from the danger. Immediately, blood and all kinds of chemicals were sent to this wound to immediately start working on it, to heal it and make it feel better, to fight infection. The human body is designed in such an intricate, masterful way. There had to be a creator behind it, a maker who intentionally designed it for specific things. Right now, there are more than 6,000 muscles that give you the ability to see. Like, it's amazing how God intricately made our human body. So creation is pointing to a creator. I feel like doctors, surgeons, nurses get a front row seat every day to seeing the masterful work of the creator.
So two things of that. Everything you just said, and people try to sell us that was a random accident.
Right.
Makes no sense.
Right.
I told you, I think it was on the last podcast about me witnessing to my father, who was a surgeon. And that's one of the things I said to him. You're trying to tell me that everything you've seen through the human body, You believe that was an accident? And he agreed. That's when he started to agree with me. He was like, no, there's no way that was an accident.
Yeah. It's amazing how intricately and yet beautifully God has designed the human body, the creation in the world around us, the constellation and the stars. So these are things that you can see. But then I would say number two, God proves himself by what you can know. Okay. Your conscience. Okay. In Romans 2, Paul addresses this. He says that they show, okay, this is unbelievers, that the work of the law is written on their hearts. Their consciences confirm this. Their competing thoughts either accuse them or even excuse them. You see, God has revealed himself in the conscience of every man. Every human being knows there is a right and a wrong. Every human being possesses an internal awareness of God's moral law. And even though they may not have the Mosaic law, people know right from wrong. Even unbelievers know it's wrong to murder.
Right.
It is wrong to steal. It is wrong to rape. It is wrong to commit adultery. The list goes on. Every human being knows this. There is a moral code written on the heart of every human being.
Yeah.
In fact, evolution cannot explain morality. Okay, if we evolved, and in essence, we're just a type of animal that's evolved over millions of years, then we can do whatever we want without guilt, without shame, without remorse, without embarrassment. I can kill you, I can harm you, I can take what I want from you, and there's no repercussion for it. We know deep down that is wrong.
Yeah, and have that conversation with somebody who doesn't believe in God, and it makes them think, because you'll say, is murder wrong? And they said, of course, and you'll say, why? Says who?
Says who?
Where'd you get that from?
That's exactly right. 100%. The moral law is written on their heart. Why do I feel guilty when I hurt someone else? Well, it's because there is a law written on your heart in which you know right from wrong. So your conscience, con meaning with, science meaning knowledge, when we sin against God, we do so with knowledge that we have sinned against him, and we feel the repercussions of that. So what you can see, creation, what you can know, conscience, but also thirdly, what you can feel. As human beings, we experience emotions that connect us to our Creator. Emotions like love, goodness, beauty, truth, justice. Deep within us, we have these desires. Now, as followers of Jesus, we know where these desires come from. But even unbelievers experience these feelings of love. Like when that doctor puts that baby in your arms for the very first time, you experience a love that you have never experienced before. Goodness. When we see people caring for the elderly, caring for the weak, even unbelievers, that feeling of, boy, that it looks good. That is right. Beauty. When you look up at night and see stars, thousands upon them, and you feel extremely small, that feeling that you have of, my goodness, I am so small and the world is so big. God is revealing himself by that feeling of awe over who he is. Truth. When someone is presenting something that is accurate and right, it resonates deep within us. It's interesting that when the world around us sees some injustice take place, there is a deep-seated cry, even from the hearts of unbelievers, in which they demand justice.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? There is a God-given desire to right every wrong. That is based on how you feel. So these are just what you see, creation, what you know, conscience, and even in what you feel. These are three ways, indicators that every human being has God revealing himself to them in these ways.
In Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. And, back to Romans 1:20, it says, so that men are without excuse.
That's right.
So we see these things and we do not have an excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. To your point from Psalm 19, just go outside and look up.
Yeah.
The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day by day, they pour forth speech, night after night. They display knowledge, man. Like just looking up, it just displays God's glory. Let me show you also another way that you can point people to the truthfulness of God is life change. When people see that your life has changed, that you have joy in the midst of trial, that you are humble in the midst of a really challenging life that you face, this becomes an apologetic for the reality and the existence of God.
Yeah.
So there's a story of of a 1740s Scottish philosopher and skeptic. His name was David Hume. He repeatedly rejected the gospel, but there was one day he was hurrying down a London street, headed to go listen to George Whitefield preach. And a friend saw him and was astonished to actually see him going to hear George Whitefield. And his friend said, "Surely you don't believe what Whitefield preaches, do you?" And he responded, "No, I don't, but he does."
There you go.
So you never underestimate how God can use your life, your influence on people who do not believe, because they're watching your life closely.
Yeah, so I think about Facebook. It's been very well documented that I had nothing to do with it until a few months ago. So there's a lot of people that I'm friends with now on Facebook that don't know me since, when I was in high school and college.
Yeah.
So this guy is so totally different than that guy.
Yeah.
If any of them listen to this, they probably think, "Who is that? That is not the same guy."
Have you guys vetted your podcast host there? I don't know.
That's exactly right. I say things and they're going, "That's not what he used to think." I think that's important, though. If there's not life change, we have an issue.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The life change is an apologetic to people watching your life, in which they're going to say, "My goodness, there is a God, because I can see the change he's made in this person's life."
Yeah.
So how do you initiate these kinds of conversations? Let me just encourage you as a listener a couple of things. First of all, pray. And when you're in the midst of these conversations, God is the one who opens the eyes of the blind. Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the glory of God in the face of Jesus. But God has shown his truth into our hearts. So we have to pray, God, open their eyes, help them to see. But I would say also, secondly, continue to live a godly life. Jesus said in Matthew 5, "Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father." See, be consistent through your integrity at work, your kindness under pressure, your purity in your relationships. These things are a witness. When you provide community, when your local church is a place where unbelievers can come and see, "Oh my goodness, these people love each other." When you are compassionate, you're providing credibility to people. They're seeing you tangibly love people. That becomes an apologetic to unbelievers. Thirdly, I'd say listen to their questions. Listen. We can be so quick to say, "Well, here's the answer. Yeah. Man, listen. And as you listen, ask questions. It's amazing to me, Harper, how often that Jesus asked questions. Yeah. To draw people out. So we think of that time in Matthew 16. He's at Caesarea Philippi. He takes his disciples on a retreat, and he asks the question, "Who do men say that I am? Who do you say that I am?"
Yeah.
And then he follow up in Luke 9. "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his own soul?" Jesus would often use questions to draw people out. Yeah. To help them discover what was in their own hearts, but to also shepherd them and lead them down the path he wants them to go.
Yeah, and you have to listen because you have to seek understanding of where they're actually coming from.
Yeah.
Because their words don't always tell you.
Yeah.
Initially their words don't always tell you. So you have to seek, what got them to where they are today.
Yeah, I think asking questions like, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? Where do you get your information?
Yeah.
How do you know if that's right?
Yeah.
Even in those 4 questions, you have just walked them down a path towards a deep inspection of their own hearts. So one time I was sharing the gospel with this guy, in which he says, "Well, I don't believe in God." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you believe in?" He said, "I believe in aliens." And he says, "Aliens are the ones who are controlling all of us." And I said, "Okay." And I said, so where do you get your information?" And he said, "Well, I just kind of made it up." And I said, "Okay, so you're basing your entire soul and eternity based upon something you just made up?" So again, it made him at least think, I need to really examine this.
Yeah.
Where am I really placing my faith and hope, and where do I get my information? Now, I'd say fifthly is provide resources. Okay, sometimes you want to be able to point people to other things that are out there that can help answer some of their questions. So 2 websites I regularly send people to. One is CARM, CARM.org. CARM, CARM.org. It stands for Christian Apologetic Research Ministry. It's a fantastic resource. It's detailed. It's long, lots of information. The second is gotquestions.org. That's kind of the cliff notes of carm.org, but it's just like a couple of sentences, sometimes a few paragraphs, but it provides a tremendous resource. And I agree with 98% of the stuff I see on gotquestions.org. It's so good. I remember I was sharing the gospel at a shopping mall in Lexington one time with this guy, and which he just had all these questions, and I had a very brief amount of time, and I had to get to an appointment. And I said, here's the deal. I said, I'm going to run in here. I'm going to buy a book for you. I want you to stay right here, and I'll be right back. I ran into the bookstore. I got the book, The Case for Faith by Lee Strobel, which I had read, and it was fantastic, and it provided great answers to his questions. And I brought it out to him, and I handed it to him, and I said, I care so much about you. I spent my own money to buy you this book. I want you to promise me you're going to read this, because this is going to provide you with answers to the questions that you have. So you want to be thinking about how you can provide resources for those who are wrestling through big questions. I would also say this, share your testimony. No one can refute a changed life. I mean, when you talk about how Jesus has changed you, talk about specific things he's doing in your life, specific ways that God is answering your prayers right now. Your changed life and your testimony is an opportunity to point to the apologetic of the power of God to change someone's life. Your testimony is your old life, I was lost, how you met Christ, but God, and then what your life is like now. Now I'm following Jesus. And so you share that testimony. Last thing I'll say this is just keep walking with them. Man, faith is a journey and have many conversations. Keep inviting them to family gatherings. Maintain a relationship. Get coffee, because here's what I found, Harper. Eventually, someone's world will come crashing down. And the person that they go running to is the person who has loved them, who has told them the truth, who has walked with them, and who lives differently than everyone else.
Amen.
And so you are going to be having an opportunity that's going to come your way by maintaining that relationship, loving them well, so that when they hit rock bottom, you can point them to Jesus, who is the rock upon which they can stand.
Amen to that. All right. That'll do it for another Truth Exchange podcast. We thank everybody for joining us. Please remember to rate us and review us. The truth remains, and we will talk again next week.